I don't wanna be afraid. I don't wanna fear the storm just because I hear it roar. I don't wanna fear the storm. I don't wanna fear the storm. Peace be still, say the word and I will set my feet upon the sea till I'm dancing in the deep. Peace be still, be my ears so it is well. Even when my eyes can't see, I will trust the voice that speaks. Oh, I'm not gonna be afraid, 'cause these waves are only waves. I'm not gonna be afraid. Oh, I'm not gonna be afraid. Oh, I'm not gonna fear the storm. Far greater than its roar. I'm not gonna fear the storm. Oh, I'm not gonna fear it all. Peace be still, say the word and I will set my feet upon the sea till I'm dancing in the deep. Oh, peace be still, you are here so it is well. Even when my eyes can't see, I will trust the voice that speaks. Oh, peace, peace, yes, over It's your peace, Jesus. Let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Oh, let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Oh, let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Peace be still, say the word and I will set my feet upon the sea till I'm dancing in the deep. Lord, peace be still, you are here so it is well. Even when my eyes can't see, I will trust the voice that speaks. Oh, peace, yes, over me. It's your peace, Jesus. Let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Whoa, let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Let
Good morning and welcome to C3 Church. We are so glad that you are here. My name's Ashley and this is Barry, and thank you for joining us.
What's up? Hey, listen, we want to make sure you know about a couple things happening in the life of C3, and one of those is community groups. We would love for you to jump in and be a part of a group. You can go to c3church.cc/now, get all the information, get registered, and be a part of a group. Get connected deeper at C3 Church.
That's right, and another way to connect deeper is to watch our daily videos that are going on Pastor Byron's YouTube channel. You don't want to miss out on those.
That's right. And then listen, we just want to say thank you to all of you who consistently give to C3. Because of your generosity, we're able to partner with community outreach projects and do things in the community to make a difference. And so you can text C3 Orlando to 77977. You can also go to our safe and secure giving website at givec3.cc. No matter how you choose to give today, thank you. Thank you for your generosity, and thank you for partnering with us to help connect communities to Christ.
That's right, and we are about to jump into our series that has been life-changing for me.
Correct.
I don't know
Week
about
2.
you.
It's going to be great.
It is week 2, and we are going to just kick it off.
Part of the problem with our view of marriage is you grow up hearing fairy tales, and the wedding is the end of the story. It's when the happily ever after is an ethereal concept that comes after the wedding, and it just magically appears, and you don't see the rest of the story.
Edgar Allan Poe said, "We loved with a love that was more than love." And isn't that what we want? When we think of being in love, that word love seems so inadequate, so insignificant, so small compared to what we actually feel. And if you want to be married, if you're dating, you're chasing this. We want to love with a love that's more than love. And he summed that statement up. It was 1986, the very first time I ever saw my bride, Angie. We were in high school. I remember exactly where I was when I met her. I'd gone over to someone's house, a friend's house, on Gladys in Beaumont. And the very first time I saw her, I'll never forget it. We began dating sometime later the following year, and we shared a locker when we were in high school at Westbrook and went to high school dances and had that whole high school dating experience. And we've now celebrated 31 years of being married. And in those years, there's some things that I'm learning that I want to share with you, because I think you can learn from some mistakes that I've made and from some of the pain that I've had to walk through. One of the things I'm learning when it comes to marriage, always go first, but always be last. We were married in 1989, and in 1989, I loved her. I remember our first apartment at Courts of Beaumont, and I remember I worked in the plumbing department at M&D Supply, Ace Hardware Store, and she worked at the Christian Bookstore, and I was going to school, and life was fast-paced, but it was awesome. I loved her, but I loved me more. I began the marriage with an attitude that was selfish. Not intentionally, I was blind to it, but it was all about how she made me feel, how she made me look. And it took me years to begin to grasp that's not love. In love, you always go first, but always be last. Go first in apologizing. Go first in listening. Go first in forgiving. Go first in serving. but always be last. Always be last in your own mind. Always be last in letting the other person go first. Always be last in what house we buy or where we go to eat or where we go on vacation. Be last in telling the story. Let the other person shine. Always go first, but always be last. That means deciding every single day, guys, that she matters more. Deciding every single day, ladies, that he matters more. Scripture says in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, it's been called the love chapter of the Bible. It's where God, the creator of love, lays out what love really looks like. And 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 says, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. That's not love. So decide every day that he matters most. Decide every day that she matters most. And in part, because I didn't do that early on, we went through a season where our focus was no longer on being together. And Angie and I ended up separating. We were filing for divorce. Everything was done. All of the details about who would get what and what it would look like with our 4 kids and, how they would split time and share time and how we would no longer be married but co-parent. All of that was worked out. And I remember the Sunday, August 14th, 2011. We were meeting at the time at Regal Cinemas, C3 Church, and that was the Sunday I would stand in front of the church as a pastor and announce that my marriage was over. I still feel that day. I remember going in the theater across the hall and weeping like a baby before I had to go in the room and stand in front of people and share something so deeply personal that was overwhelmingly painful. Have you ever felt so much pain that you were just numb? The 2 things I remember the feeling of that day, and I remember the moment that Angie and I had to look into the eyes of our 4 kids and have that talk. The same talk that some of you have had. Of, hey, it's not you. We love you. It's going to be okay. Our marriage is over, but we both love you and it's not your fault. And some of you, you know what it's like to look into the eyes of your kids and know that the words you're speaking are causing some of the greatest pain they will ever have to process. I remember how broken I felt. I remember how hopeless I felt. Some of you have walked through that devastating pain and it wasn't your choice. Your spouse made that choice. You had no control over it. Some of you, there were things that you needed to get away from. Maybe it was an abusive relationship. Your story is not my story. But for my story, a lot of it had to do with how selfish I was.
He takes everything on himself, and he anytime you hear him talk about it, he's self-deprecating in the sense of, I should have done more, I should have been more healing, I should have, The truth is that when we don't deal with our past, it will deal with us. And around my mid-30s, all of a sudden the defense mechanisms that I had had in dealing with trauma from my childhood or my past, any negative things that had kind of shaped my view of relationships and the world and even God, started failing me, started to crumble. And then we transitioned the church, and that was fraught with pain and loss and betrayal. And so that was kind of the thing that, for me, the straw that broke the camel's back, or the thing that ushered in this feeling of, rather than facing the truth about the situations and things that had been that I had been exposed to, or that had been done to me, people in my life that had been careless with me as a child. Rather than facing that, I chose to basically just burn it down, just blow up my life, because I didn't feel that my children deserved a mother like me, that my husband deserved a wife like me, and so I was going to do everything to just destroy it. So I was in just a complete spiral of self-destruction, and that is what caused our separation. And Byron very graciously takes it on himself. Now, it's, every relationship has components. So when you marry someone in your 19 years old, and you don't understand what they're going through, I didn't understand what he was going through, he didn't understand. You don't really know everything. You don't always respond in the right way. But it just took a supernatural, it just took the grace of God, and the fact that we're together today is a tribute to God's healing power, but also Byron just refused to go. Just refused. And so now on the other side of it, you have two people that have been through a lot. Two people that have been hurt and betrayed and been through a lot. But neither one of us are going to go. So it's that stubbornness, that that refusal to give in, that can save you.
And God restored our marriage. Now, if you've walked through it and God didn't restore your marriage, you are not a second-class citizen. Your future is no less valuable. You are no less loved by God. You have your journey. We have our journey. But in our lives, God restored our marriage. And He did that to a large degree because we both made a decision. It was a decision. We had two options, together or apart. And we chose. And we chose together. And we chose to do everything we needed to do to restore the marriage. See, love has a greater chance of flourishing if it's your only option. And I'm so glad we chose what we chose, because from that moment, ending our marriage has never been an option again for either one of us. When it's your only option to love, to stay engaged, to stay connected, to do whatever it takes, you have a greater focus on making it better. 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 7 says, love always protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, it always perseveres. Love never fails. Another thing I'm learning that I wish I'd known, especially in those early years of the marriage, use a tone that creates a home. Use a tone that creates a home. How we say things. I think it's important to use a soft tone. And the more emotion we feel and the more passion behind it, and sometimes the deeper the argument or the deeper the division, and maybe we're on completely different pages about what we're discussing, the more important it becomes to use a soft tone. Small, insignificant comments and actions make a big difference. And guys, can I just say this to you, gentlemen? The comments we make and the tone that we use and how we say what we say, how I say what I say to my bride, how you say what you say to your bride, those things are cumulative. As a guy, often the way we're wired, women are wired differently. They have a much higher emotional intelligence naturally than we do. And they're able to process, generally speaking, a lot more things at one time than we are. Guys, we can shake it off, move on. But for ladies, how we function and how we communicate and what we say, it is cumulative. It builds up over time. So with every comment and with the tone that you use and how you're communicating, you are investing in a better future and more connectedness, or you are speaking in a way and communicating in a way, even with looks, that erodes the future that you would prefer. 1 Corinthians, again, the love chapter, chapter 13, verse 1 says, if I speak in the tongues of men or angels, such eloquence, if I speak in the tongues of men or angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or clanging cymbal. So you may be making noise, but is the noise even valuable? Is your noise, is your tone creating harmony or racket? Another thing I'm learning, God picked only you to love this one person in a way that heals them.
Byron and I got married very young, practically teenagers. He was still technically in his teens. I wasn't because I'm older. But I understand why people say, well, we got married too young and we changed. We just grew into different people, because change is going to happen and growth is going to happen. It's just a matter of which direction. And so the disadvantage of marrying young is complicated, but it also provides the advantage of so many years of growing together and learning how to overcome your own baggage and help them in the process of growing and overcoming their baggage.
God often heals people through people. Some relationships are healing, some are damaging. But the reality is all of us have baggage. All of us come into a marriage with baggage. And how your dad treated you, or how your mom treated you, or what you saw in their interaction with each other. All of us come into that relationship with baggage. Sometimes it's the baggage of a previous relationship or previous marriage. Every one of us, every single person is broken in some way. None of us are perfect. And this relationship, marriage, can be healing. I remember when Angie and I made the decision to do whatever it would take to restore the marriage. After we'd separated, we were living in, we had different addresses and we were navigating, balancing co-parenting, and we made that decision and we moved back into the same address. One of the things I determined, because I had learned more about Angie, because I had stopped being so selfish. Now, I still have a selfish nature. You have a selfish nature. That's kind of our default position. We have to fight against that. That's who we are. But one of the things I began to learn was more about Angie on a deeper level. I became more interested in knowing, hey, why this and why that? And what causes this reaction? What causes this feeling? And as I learned more about Angie, and more specifically about the relationship she had with her biological father and her mother, the more determined I became to love her in a way that would be healing. When you love someone, you consider what they've been through. You consider the experiences they've had. You're more sensitive in certain areas because of how you know that individual. It might be something that you might not have to be sensitive or aware of with other people, but when you know your spouse on that level, hey, God picked out of everybody on the planet you to love this one person in a way that heals them. Scripture says, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4, love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. You married an imperfect person. But guess what? So did your spouse. And each of you, God has picked to love the other in a way that is healing. Another thing I'm learning, be the kind of person that the person you're looking for would be looking for. Be the kind of person that the person you're looking for would be looking for. Now, you might hear that and think, wait a minute, I'm married. What are you talking about? Well, I want to talk to those of you that are dating for just a moment about this idea of marriage, the thing that Edgar Allan Poe summed up that you're chasing and wanting at some point potentially in your life. When you're dating, you don't fall in love. You fall into attraction. You fall into, oh my gosh, you fall into holy smoke, you fall into other things that I can't say right now. You don't fall into love, you fall into attraction. You leap into love. When Angie and I first met, that first time I saw her that I told you about at that house on Gladys, I was not a Christ follower. I didn't have Jesus in my life, and I didn't live like I had Jesus in my life. 3 weeks after I became a Christ follower, months later, I was invited by a friend, that same friend, to her house to what I thought was going to be a party. And it was a party from some of our friends at church, and it was the kind of party that it's okay if mom and dad know you're going to that party. And so I went, and when I rang the doorbell to the Crims home, our friend Melissa, it was her house. When I rang the doorbell, she looked at Angie. Angie was already over there. Angie and Melissa were friends. She looked at Angie and said, he doesn't know that he's coming to go on a date with you tonight. He thinks he's coming to a party. And then she went downstairs to answer the door. And Angie and I talked about all the feelings she felt in that moment. She knew that we were going on a date that night, and she thought I came with that understanding, and I had no idea until Melissa answered the door and told me, hey, her and the person she was dating at the time and me and Angie, that night was a date. That was 3 weeks after I committed my life to Christ. I'm so glad that Angie and I did not start dating before I was a Christ follower, because I was not the kind of person that she would have been looking for. That's true in dating, but it's also true in marriage. Be the kind of person that your spouse is looking for. Be the kind of person day by day that your spouse is looking for. What's equally important to who you marry is how you do marriage. And to do marriage in a healthy way, you have to view your spouse in the best way. Again, 1 Corinthians, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. God is laying out, this is what love looks like. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, it always perseveres. Love never fails. Marriage is a journey, but you continue to pursue love as the only option, loving deeper and trusting God. Now, the only way that you can be the husband that you want to be, the only way that you could ever be the wife that you want to be, the only way you can be the person that you really want to be is to know God in a personal way. Because remember, you have baggage, I have baggage, we're all broken. So the only way to live the life God created you to live is with His presence in your life. The only way I can experience the life He created for me is to know Him in a personal way. So if that's the step you need to take, I want to invite you to pray a very simple prayer. Hey, today's your day. I want to invite you to pray a simple prayer to invite Christ to come into your life, to help you be the person you want to be, to help you be the husband you'd like to be now or you'd like to be someday, to help you be the wife you'd like to be now or you'd like to be someday. If that's what you want, just bow your heads and close your eyes and pray this simple prayer. Jesus, I invite you to come into my life, to be my personal Lord. As best I know how, I commit my life to you. Please forgive me of my sin. Thank you for loving me and coming into my life. In Jesus' name, amen.
Hey, if you just prayed that prayer with Pastor Byron today, he would love to know that. He'd love to send you a free gift and also be able to be praying for you by name this week. You can text your first name to 407-487-8311. You can also click on the link in the comment section, and that would be a great way so that Pastor Byron can get your name and info to send you that free gift and to be praying for you by name this week. Hey, Ashley, also this week, there's daily videos. How do people get to those?
That's right. They are awesome. They are life-changing. It's a great way to expand on what Pastor Byron is talking about on Sunday mornings. You can go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe at youtube.com/Byron Bledsoe.
That's right. Click the bell, get the notification so you don't miss a single one. And in fact, don't miss next week. We'd love for you to come back next Sunday and check out C3 Church. We love you. We're praying for you. Have a great week.